Hi guys, and welcome back to another episode of the Dakr Ages, and we're here again in Dakr. So this episode I'm going to be doing quite a lot, actually, a lot more than usual. I kind of want to kind of finish up within the next couple of episodes, 2 to 3 episodes kind of maximum, but I do want to do this town justice. I really want to fill it out with as many builds as kind of possible, but also have a really good variety that I can get you guys out in tutorials. So we've got quite a lot of this area in front of the castle to actually kind of build up a lot of kind of houses. I also want to get a knight's hall, a kind of big stables as well for the knights. So there's quite a lot that I actually want to get kind of done in this episode, and also get a couple of kind of fishing ships as well to kind of fill it out, add a little bit more detail into the actual town itself. So what I've done here is I've actually sped this up even more than I usually do. It's actually on 40 times speed, so what you're seeing is in 1 minute of footage, you're actually seeing 40 minutes of kind of in-game kind of work. And what I'm doing right now is I'm just laying down some of these houses using the same style that I've kind of got with Dakr so far. And I might actually come back and detail these even further and add a couple extra ones, but for the time being I've just gone for these very simple house designs and these modular house designs, just to kind of fill out the town. So you can see me just kind of quickly adding in the detail there and adding in these kind of small houses. And another thing I kind of wanted to do is kind of in these gaps is actually fill them up with something. And instead of just putting down trees and things like that, I decided to put in a couple of stalls just before you actually go up to the main kind of keep. So you can see me adding in a couple more houses, and I'm really experimenting with the kind of style that I've kind of made for Dakr, and seeing what I can kind of come up with to kind of give it a bit of variation, make every kind of house different. And one thing about this town is every single house has got its own flair. It's all slightly different. You can see with this one I've just kind of added a balcony in as well, and then applying the kind of roof style to those struts that I've already made, which gives me a really good kind of place to actually start building those. And it's something that you should always do. So one thing I've got over here is a bigger stables, and I had the smaller stables up by the inn, but I really wanted a kind of big stables that was going to be used by the knights, where you've got the kind of more richer kind of stables where their horses are actually kept. So you can see I've gone with a kind of different roof style here, where it's got 2 roofs in a way, where it's gone, 2 kind of arches. That's adding in the detail here. And now it's time to kind of build a slightly higher class one. This is kind of like a knight's hall. So you can see me laying out the actual structure for it, and then using the cobblestone for the kind of inside detailing. And I really wanted to kind of build a tower with this as well, so that it's got a slight kind of tower, and you can kind of tell that it's a bit more than the kind of wooden buildings. Not just in the materials, but also the actual kind of outside styling as well. And you can see me adding those kind of flicks onto the actual roof to make it look a little bit different from everything else. And now you can just see me building up this tower, and it's quite a simple design, and it's very similar to that's on the castle. And you can see me adding in a couple more houses just to kind of fill up this space, and actually building them kind of into the hills so they do kind of disappear a little bit. But when I come onto the interior, I'll actually cut away that hill and kind of have those, instead of having them with walls with windows, they'll just be straight walls. And now I decided to come over to the actual lake that we have in front of Dakr and add a couple of these small fishing ships. And it's been a while since I've actually built any small ships, so I was kind of messing around with these lantern sails, and this one here I decided to do a kind of square rigged sail. I'm really happy with this one here that I've got, which is quite a nice bigger kind of lantern sail design. It took me a while to actually cut away and get the sail shape correct so that I'm actually happy with it. And now I'm building a kind of a bigger lantern sail style ship, and to make it a little bit different I tried out kind of putting on these oars as well, so you can actually row these, and this time actually tying up the sail to kind of experiment with that, see what I can come up with actually tying the sails up in this style. One thing that's been kind of requested a lot is a lighthouse, but since this is actually kind of the town is on a lake, a lighthouse doesn't really make sense. But I still have kind of built one on this kind of outcropping that we've got here. And it's not really a lighthouse, it's more of a signal fire. So if, for example, invaders are coming up the river in their longboats, if they're Vikings, for example, there's actually a signal fire to signal the kind of towers so the guards can actually get going. And over on this side, I've kind of built this guild hall. And it's more of kind of like it's almost a barracks in a way, but it's also kind of more of a guild hall. So I've kind of gone for this very interesting design. Again, it's got a tower on it as well as one of the kind of higher class ones. I can just see me kind of adding these kind of detail and really messing around with the shape. It's quite a big building. And then clearing the grass in the front and adding in the rough kind of roofs and figuring out exactly where I'm going to put those roof styles in. And again, to make it a little bit different, I've used the spruce wood and then used cobblestone and stone kind of stairs to add that detail, and it makes it feel a little bit more higher class compared to the kind of straight wood houses that you have. And again, using that same flick on the kind of top of it. And now you can see me building up that tower and adding the same kind of roof style that I've used on the other towers as well. And now just adding in the actual details to kind of really flesh out this build. And you can see the difference that it makes just adding in those small details after I've kind of established the main shape. And another thing that you kind of need to really do is just keep on putting in that detail. And you can see how long I actually took. I probably took about 20 to 30 minutes just on this building alone in detail, but it does kind of finish off the build really nicely. And then just adding in a couple of these trees, which really does give it a kind of a nicer effect. And then I came over here and I decided to build a leather tanner. So this is where leather and things like that is actually tanned to turn it into armor. So it's obviously not as kind of higher class armor. And I've used the brown clay blocks to actually kind of simulate the actual leather here. So I've just got this kind of very small building, which has a kind of back area, and also on the side it's got this kind of area for drying out the actual leather itself. Another thing we really needed with this town was a granary, so I've kind of built this granary right up here near the castle walls, well not near the castle walls but near the town walls, so when the actual wheat gets brought in doesn't have to go too far before going to the bakery. And I decided to use instead this time the actual hay bales, as I thought it was kind of appropriate, and it changes up a little bit and it kind of sticks out a little bit more than the wooden buildings. And now you can see me kind of mass building these houses to fill this up, and this is another technique you can do. Instead of just building house by house, you can actually kind of build houses in mass by using your wooden logs here. So I'm setting out all the different styles and shapes and then filling them up with the cobblestone on the bottom layer, and really just kind of going around and actually doing it layer by layer and kind of step by step, but on 7 different buildings at the same time. What this does is it means that you can actually kind of variate everything really easily without having to look at everything. And then adding the actual roofs on. And again, variating these roofs with the 4 different types of wood that I've got in the 1.6 version of Minecraft. So you can see me just kind of working on that house right at the back, which you can't see in this kind of part of the video, but it does look quite cool. Just finishing up these 2 here. And then adding in all of the details on all of these houses, as well as kind of adding in the flower boxes as well, which kind of adds everything, and then filling the rest of the space with trees. And here, this is where we kind of have the platform from the docks. And I decided to put in a big willow tree, and then actually turn this into a strange kind of marketplace. And I got the idea from Dragon Age, and I can't remember which Dragon Age it is, but one of the elven places has a big tree, and I decided to kind of put around these kind of higher class stalls, and then filling this kind of with junk and trying to make it look a bit lived in. And over here I decided to actually put in a Fletcher, and a Fletcher is basically the armourer version or kind of smithy version of someone for arrows. So I've kind of got this kind of different kind of roof style, and I tried to actually go a little bit elven with this, not too much so, but just to kind of experiment a little bit with that style. And now you can see Dakr in all its glory so far. And the castle on this hill, looking really, really nice. And next episode we are going to be going into the castle grounds once again to kind of do the castle smithy, the castle barracks and castle stables. There's also a lot more kind of little details that we need to put into the town. But next episode I am actually planning on finishing up Dakr. As you can see in this episode, we've kind of filled out this entire part of the town with the Knight's Hall, with all of these houses, with the Tanner, with the Granary. So there's quite a lot that's actually gone in this episode. So you can really see how that entire section going up to the castle has kind of been fleshed out, just using the same kind of style that we've kind of established, but also adding variation to it. And as we come down the docks here, you can see how kind of epic that is starting to look. And then across the bay you've got all of these ships in there now, and I've added in the 14 gun brig as well. And I've also extended this wall, I've just copy and pasted it from the other side onto here, so we have a kind of boundary and 2 towers guarding the docks. So hopefully you guys have enjoyed this episode of the Dakr Ages. If you have, make sure you comment, like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys on the next video.